Alright, so I have a black piece of scrap chipboard, and I want my overall dimension to be 4 by 4.5. So I use my paper cutter, but I use older blades, which I put a little mark on it to remember to change, to only use it to cut chipboard. Alright, so we are going to do 4 by 4.5. I'm just going to double check that, see how it looks in the front. I think it's actually going to be like this. Okay, so now we need to border around the inside, which now I'm on black, but I already glued it down by accident. Hopefully y'all should be able to see the different black. Okay, I'm going to make a 1/2 inch from each edge. I'm going to measure in a 1/2 inch, and I'm just going to use my little Martha Stewart . Alright, now we are going to cut this square out. I'm sorry, I'm not sure if my head's going to get in the way, but I need to see that line. If you don't cut it perfectly, don't worry about it, because it's also going to be covered up with fabric. One more. Let's see if I got that. Didn't quite go all the way through on this side. Alright, I'm just going to get my knife and cut that, finish it. Okay, now we have our square. So get out your batting again. I'm just going to use some of these little scraps I have. Okay, so I have my fabric here. Now I'm back on white. So I'm just going to cut out about a 1/2 inch Let's see. We are going to cut out the center, but it looks like these folds in the fabric's going to fall. So let me go and iron that real quick, and you go ahead and get yours ready also. Alright, so if you have a pattern, make sure you have it facing the right direction. And put your batting side down. And we're going to start gluing up the outside. Let me bring y'all in a little bit. I'll go ahead and put it back on this white. Maybe y'all can see it better. I'm not sure. Let's see. Okay. Yeah, let's just start on this side here. I think that worked very well. I'm going to let this sit here for a second and get that glue drying, get some of the glue off of my fingers. And then next what we are going to do is, okay, once your glue dries, we don't want glue in our sewing machine. I am going to take and stitch all around the outside of the frame, and then another stitch along the inside on all four corners, and I will see y'all back when I get that done. Alright, I have mine finished up. I have all of my threads pulled to the back and tied in a knot. And you see the stitches. Alright, so I want to cover the back part with just a piece of cardstock. Anything you have on hand is fine. So when they slide the picture in, I just don't want it to catch on anything. So I'm going to go ahead and get my glue gun and just get these stray strings out of the way. Well, Jiminy Crickets. go ahead and grab you just a little piece of cardstock. Doesn't matter what it is, nobody's gonna see it. First thing I grabbed a hold to was just this little craft cardstock. So we remember our overall size is 4 by 4.5. So I'm going to go 1/16 of an inch under before I get to 4. Whoop, whoop, okay. See, the 1/16 before I get to the 4, because we want it to be a little bit smaller. We don't want it to show around the edges. And then the same thing, 1/16 smaller than 4.5. Alright. Just double check before I move on. And all is well. I can't see from the front. Let's see, I have it right here. I'm just going to trace this. Then I'm going to cut inside this line to make it a little bit smaller. There we go. Sorry. Let's see how this works. I think that's going to work just fine. So I'm going to get my glue. Alright, now when they slide a picture behind here, and nothing can grab it. Okay, so grab your onesie. We'll set this aside for a moment. It should be dry by now. So what we want to do is, and I'm going to use my glue, my Fabri-Tac and hot glue together. Do not use your hot glue only. I mean, I know people aren't going to stand there and start pulling this apart, but it is easier to pull hot glue that's fabric together. Wait. It's easier to pull fabric that's glued with hot glue apart. Okay. So I'm going to look at my height after I make it to where y'all could, whoa, wrong way. Okay, so I'm going to look at the height of my skirt compared to where I want, how much of my little white underpart that I want shown. And you judge on yours, because your template's probably maybe different than mine. So I'm going to get an idea. I'm probably going to go ahead and put it together and bunch it up a little bit more as I glue it down. So I'm going to put a line of glue about where I want it to be. And while this glue dries, I'm going to work with it and putting it in place and setting it how I want it to fold, how I want the pleats to be. Put glue wherever you think you need the glue. Really. The lid on my glue broke. Okay, I'm noticing that my dress is really flat between my lace and this, but I don't want to put any more lace under there because unless you turn her upside down, you're not going to see it. So let me see what I can get that we can use to fill that up. Come on, be nice. Well, I believe we're just going to have to use our little frillies. It would have been easier if I would have caught that before, but we're just going to sneak it on in here. And we're going to use our fabric tack to get it in. I'm just going to go up to the line of glue that we just put down for our skirt. Oh, let me see. Let's give it a little cut here. I thought about putting batting, but I don't think that would work if somebody happened to does happen to lift the dress. Wow, this glue is impossible. Let's see, I got a little bit of glue on my blue fabric, and I don't want it to dry stiff. All right. I think that gives us a little bit more poof in our dress. I'm just going to hold it up and work on my pleats, getting them where I want them to be. And I think that's good. See our little ruffle on the bottom, and it's poofed out more. Still need to wait for that glue underneath to dry. For our frame, I'm putting the 4.5 this way, and I'm looking at my stitching, see which side I don't like. And I'm going to put it, somehow I got a little loop right here, so I'm going to put that one on the bottom. Now I don't want to cover up our little neckline there, so I'm just barely there. You see, I'm just barely underneath that neckline. Now what I'm going to do is glue on the outer edge on these 3 sides, and pray my glue does not make a complete and total mess, because we still want them to have room to slide. Matter of fact, I'm gonna move this just in case, because I've been dripping everywhere. I had to change to brown cardstock because the black one got glue all over it. Now I'm going to put this down, and then I'm going to put some books on top of it. Don't use pins, any type of safety pin, or a lot of times, sometimes, you know, you have the little clip pins, because it will make a mark on your fabric. So let's make sure we get this one in place. And from the top, I'm going to hold it down for just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and take a book and put it just from here up, so it pushes this down, and I'm going to let it dry overnight. You don't necessarily have to let it dry overnight. It's just it's almost 10 p.m. my time, and it's time to get some sleep. So I'm going to put a book on it. If you know you're doing it at a different time, just leave it on there maybe an hour, and try not to smush down your, try not to smush all your work you just did on your dress, and just put the book from here up, just enough to give it a little pressure to hold that down while it dries. And then we will get back to putting our decorations on the front, and then we'll cover it up, and then we'll put our frame on the back. And I will see y'all again soon. Mine is dry enough, and we are going to go ahead and cover the back and put our little frame kickstand. So I have my template, and I'm going to use black. Now make sure whenever you're doing your template, this is the back. So when I made this, hi Gracie, I had the template facing me, or the word template facing me. So I want to turn it over and trace it that way, because it's going on the back. Maybe I could show you. So if you traced it this way and tried to put it together, can you see how it will not line up? And believe me, I learned this the hard way. I kept making them. I kept cutting out the chipboard with an X-Acto knife, which isn't fun. But also, now I'm saying this, those big scissors that you get, like if you buy one of those big blocks of knives for your kitchen, the scissors that are inside there will cut chipboard and make this easier for you. But anyway, so I'm cutting out all this chipboard, and they're not lining up because I'm not flipping it over. So yeah, I learned that one the hard way. So I am going to flip it over and trace it out, and then this is just a black heavy cardstock. check in the corner of your arm. See, you can see that little bit of white right there, because that fabric is so hard to pull. And then I have a little bit of white right there. I am going to just take a marker. You can do two things. You can take a marker and color it and they won't see it, or you can just tear off a little tiny piece of fabric and glue it right there. I'm going to see if maybe this will help. We'll flip it over, make sure you can't see anything. Alright, so I have a piece of chipboard, and mine is not even a quarter, like 2 1/8. So let me make that 2 inch. I'll tell you what, we need one that's 7 inches, so I'm going to do that first. 7 inches. By 2 inches, your first piece. Okay, so 7 by 2. And then we need another piece that's 1.5 by 1. So there's my 1.5. By 1. I don't know which one it was. Was it this one? Okay. 1.5 by 1. Now what we want to do is, it's going to be tapered, so we need 1.5 at the top and 2 at the bottom. So I'm just going to take my ruler, and I'm measuring from the left over 1.5 inch and make a little mark. And then I'm going to put my ruler on that mark and on the corner down here and draw a line, and then put that back on my cutting board and just put that line where your cutting board goes across. Let's start. And there we have tapered. And this little guy is going to go at the top there. So grab some cardstock. This doesn't have to be black. You could have used any cardstock that you wanted. We are covering it. I have this handy, so I'm gonna, actually I don't know. Where'd my black go? Oh yeah. Okay, let me grab some. I need to make 2. Sorry about that, guys. 2 hinges. So I'm going to cut it 1 inch by 1.5, and I need 2 of those. cutter on here, but I'm not going to worry about it. Okay, you can take and score it at 1/2 inch. I'm just going to fold mine over. I'm just going to make sure it matches my 1.5 inch piece. I need to trim it a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to open, I'm going to put glue on this inside. Then I'm going to take, this is the 1.5 inch side, put it up to that score line. Then I'm going to put glue on the other side. And put our 1 by 1.5. I want this hinge to be sturdy, so I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side. So I have glue on one side of the hinge. I'm going to put it on our long 7.5 inch side. And then put glue on the other side of the hinge and fold it over to this smaller 1.5 inch by 1 piece. Alright, I'm going to let that dry. And what we're going to do is we're going to cover one side with fabric and the other side with just cardstock. Now this little hinge is going to get pretty tight once you dry, and it may kind of bubble on one side, but that's okay. It's going to be covered up with the fabric on one end, and then this is going to be attached to the back of this on the other side. It's just, I made one without putting these two hinges, and it was really loose. So I'm going to get a piece of fabric. I want to do black. I don't know if I have enough left. Yes, I have enough left. Now I'm putting fabric over the whole thing. Or I say the whole thing, one whole side, but all the way, the hinge and the little piece and the big piece. And I'm just giving about 1/4 to 1/2 inch overhang with my fabric. Wow, I'm really cutting this one rough. I have a fold in mine, so I'm going to go ahead and iron that out real quick. Now I'm going to take a black cardstock and I should have done this before we put the fabric on. Trace it out, and I only need to go to where the bend here. We do not have to put anything behind this 1 by 1.5 piece. I apologize for that. I should have had you guys do it before we put the fabric on. So I'm putting it where that hinge is, the center between the two. Tracing it. My cat just stepped on my printer. So that's what the noise is. Now say, cat, what are you printing? Alright, so I want it to be a little bit smaller than where I traced it, so I'm going to put the cut just barely inside that line I just traced. I'm going to change my cutter, because this is my chipboard cutter and it will shred that paper. I need a cleaner line. Alright. Yeah, Gracie, what's up? And then same thing on this one. I want to go in just inside of the line. And I'll just check that out. Mine looks good. I'm going to trim this top just a little bit. And I think we'll be okay. Actually, I can see it just a little bit on this side. I'm going to trim it just a hair. Alright. So I'm going to check one more time before we glue it down. I ended up cutting mine crooked. Alright, so let's glue this piece down. Gracie, don't do it. No. Alrighty then. Alright, we have that covered up. I don't know what I did with the top. I'll just grab a different one. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, on our little 1.5 by 1, I'm going to make 2 marks centered, top to bottom centered, and about 1/4 of an inch from the side. So I'm going to kind of eyeball the top to front, the top to bottom centered, but I am going to make a little mark. If I can see it, where's my... And then this one also, I want it even across, and I think that part's too high. Okay, my recorder died. So I'm going to go ahead and punch out on the hole that we made. Try and make it as even as possible. Let's see, the fabric didn't cut well on that one. Okay, so grab a pencil and grab your little template. And again, we want to center it. Whoops. We want to center it where we have the same amount on each side of this paper. Try to get it as straight as you can. Then go ahead and take your pencil and we'll mark in these 2 holes. Then we're just going to punch them in like so. Wait, time out. Let me make sure I am on the correct side of my back. Okay. Yes. That is the correct side. Actually, now I need to trim it a little bit. I'm going to test it. Grab one of my clips. Actually, let me get one that's not really tight. And these are just those magnetic clips that you get for to pin stuff on your refrigerator. So I'm going to put this where my holes are marked. Just hold that in place, and I'm just going to test out the height, and that actually works perfect. So even while it's still holding there, oh, I already marked them. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to take one of these light blue pins here. I can't think right now what to call them. I have this blue. Brats? Is that what they're called? Let me see which one I like better. Yeah, I like this darker better, and plus the end of it is longer. Let me grab another one. And go ahead and poke my holes through. Line that up. My cat is crying like a little baby, which I guess she kind of is. Let's see. Alright. I'm going to go ahead and put some glue. Actually, I think it'll hold just fine. I'm just going to put some glue here, kind of where it folds up. So I'm underneath that little 1-inch piece, and I'm just putting glue underneath it. You can't see it. Well, once I wipe it off, you can't see it. I'll put a little too much. Just to hold this down some. Now we get to attach this to our back. Now I'm going to grab a few of these clips. Actually, you could use these binder clips. If when you put it on, make sure the binder clip fits right there in that stitch line. If you keep it over your batting and leave it for too long, it will make a mark. But if you put it right on that edge, it shouldn't make a mark. So again, I'm going to put Fabri-Tac out around the edges. And then I'll just use a regular glue on the inside where it's going to hit the chipboard. And I'm going to put a lot on these sides because all this fabric that we need to go over. Put lots of glue around these. Make sure they don't pull up. Now, just keep an eye on all of your edges. Make sure nothing is overhanging. Check that your bottom fits evenly. Probably would have been better to do this before put all the flowers. Just press it all down. Especially here where all this fabric is gathered. Got a little glue on here. I'm afraid to mess with it too much. And I got one little piece of fabric. Alright. Now I believe that is everything. I think my ends are together well. Let me see. Yeah, I am going to go ahead and use these. And I'm going to just put it right on that stitch. It's always nice to have a lot of clips. Trying to dig out a small one here. Here we go. Oh, it's tight. Some of these suckers are hard to get a hold of. It's hard to squeeze. Seems like mine's moving a little bit. I'm going to pin it down where I want it to be until the glue dries. Make sure it dries straight. Alright, I'm just going to let this set for about 5 minutes. Alright, so mine is on and it is finished, but I did want to show you, oops, forgot one. As I was looking further at it, I have on this side, I can see the paper. It must have shifted a little bit while I was putting on the clips. So I'm just going to take a blade and trim that down. Just wanted to show y'all in case it happened to you also. Alright, that is better. So our baby onesie frame is complete. And then now You can slide a little photo in here and set it up like so. Got a little wobbly there for a sec. Also, if you have trouble with the back of yours, if this bend right here is getting too loose and your frame is not standing forward, you can take a piece of a real ribbon string, probably a decorative ribbon will be better. Attach it here and then attach it here, and that way when it opens you could put it at the position that you want it to stay. Because I noticed on my previous one, the little boy one that I made with the little suspenders, it was really loose right here. So I haven't yet, but that's my plan. I'm going to put a ribbon from this part to the back, and it'll keep it in line to keep from sliding like that. So yeah, like that right there. So that would be a little fix for you if you do need it. Okay, so I do hope y'all enjoy this. I do want to do another little boys. I actually think I want to try and do a little tuxedo, and I'm going to also do a video tutorial on that one. So hopefully I will be seeing you soon. Bye bye.